Everyone, this is Rob Roy, and welcome to the Elliott Wave Options S&P 500 U.S. Market Update. Well, in the last recording I said beware running with the bulls, but holy cow, even I didn't expect the volatility that we got today. Did Chairman Powell turn into Gilligan and leave us out on an island? We're going to get pretty specific in labeling these charts. Let's take a look. At the time of this recording, it is 3 a.m. on Thursday night / Friday morning, and at this moment the futures are up 21 points, so looking for a little bit of a rebound off of today's selling. In the opening comments, I talked about Chairman Powell. On Wednesday, when the Federal Reserve released their statement at 2 o'clock, they talked about how they were going to keep the rates at zero till at least 2022. The quote was, they aren't even thinking about raising rates. Well, then after that, Chairman Powell gave his press conference, which they do every other meeting, and he started talking about the weakness of the economy and that he didn't see a V-shaped recovery in the economy. He was really pretty doom and gloom about the economy itself. And from that point on, as his comments started coming out, the market started to reverse a bit. And then you know what happened today. Holy cow. All you know what broke loose. So I mentioned also in the entry that was going to be pretty specific on labeling the chart. So I've color coordinated them and already labeled them, so I wouldn't waste your time drawing lines, but here's where we've been. Now, I want to be clear on this. I've been trading Elliott Wave since 2001, and my goal is to be a profitable Elliott Wave trader for myself and our subscribers. My goal is not to be the greatest Elliott Wave technician that ever lived. So if some of these patterns differ from others, that's okay. This is working. This is successful. So here's the patterns. We had this big zigzag pattern to the downside. Obviously, I'm a big fan of zigzags. We had trades for our subscribers during that point in time. Then we had the upward zigzag. That downward one had an extended C wave. Then we had a more classic looking upward zigzag pattern. We had trade alerts that went out for our subscribers in that move to the upside as well. Then we moved into a flat after the C wave extended. So that's in the fuchsia color. And then we had the recent thrust pattern from the flat. Happens all the time. Classic Elliott Wave stuff. Thrust is one of Elliott Wave's words. When you have a big move coming out of a corrective move like a flat, that happens quite often. Well, then we had the reversal today. So the fact that we had this gap up right here and then the gap down back here, that's known as an island reversal because these bars are just kind of out there floating on an island. That's why I said, did Chairman Powell turn into Gilligan? Now, you want to see a couple more days for the island reversal to actually form. If we turn around and retrace this and fill that gap immediately, then obviously it's not an island reversal. But if we get a couple more days here where we don't go up and fill that gap, then that becomes more of the likely pattern, and some sort of an impulse move to the downside is likely to occur. Now, Tuesday night in our Trade Finder webinar, and by the way, if you haven't registered for Trade Finder, please look, there should be a link up on the top of your screen, and if not, look in the comments section under the video. You can sign up for Trade Finder, free. We do it every Tuesday night. We talked about this ascending pennant pattern. So you can see in the recording. And speaking of the recordings, we also closed a couple of trades yesterday. One in our impulse strategy that was a directional out-of-the-money call butterfly to the upside with Google. And then we also had one in our volatility portfolio, which was a strangle. Great time to be putting on strangles with this kind of a pattern occurring that was on TSM. Taiwan Semiconductor. Both of those, obviously, looking back, were fantastic exits. The Google trade, you can look at the on the channel here. You can see the trade reviews if you haven't watched those. They're available there. They're only a couple minutes long. But we talked about this in the Trade Finder, where we had this ascending pennant pattern and we were getting into some pretty thin air up here. I even used the analogy of a rocket. You know, as it goes up, the air gets thinner. And so the resistance gets more. And that's what was occurring here because it was getting awfully vertical in the move and thin, smaller volatility with the bars. And we were just ripe for some sort of a pullback. And we had talked about, are we going to come down and fill these gaps before we go up and retest those highs? Well, then you know what happened today. We had the big move to the downside. Now that sets us up for another potential pattern. Some of you have been talking about this, which I'm impressed with. I get a lot of really good questions on our videos, and so it's fun when you have an intelligent audience to share comments and ideas back and forth with. But there's been some commentary. Is this a large flat forming? Remember, we disqualified the potential for this being a downward zigzag, meaning making a new low here. So it is now a qualified potential large flat where we work our way down. Doesn't have to be a big strong impulse move, nothing like what happened today. I also wanted to update you on the chart of the VIX, because the last time we looked at the VIX, we had this pattern here, and I mentioned that we had this kind of a launch pad type effect here, where we had all these sideways bars, and typically when you have that kind of a launch pad effect, you get like a rocket ship to the upside, hence the reason that I call it the launch pad effect. We had this large descending triangle. But then in the last recording, it looked like we were starting to sneak to the downside, so it looked like maybe that was going to be a downside breakout, possibly come down and fill this lower gap. Well, we know now that that was a false breakout. That's not what happened, and then today we got that big vertical move, the launch pad effect, to the upside. How far will it go? We'll have to wait and see. But this kind of a VIX chart setup, and then the fact that we had this ascending pennant pattern, is a pretty good reason why we have a balance of both long and short positions for our subscribers. In the volatility portfolio, with the strangles, the short or the downside is always covered with long puts within the strangles. But even in the impulse strategy, we have positions both to the upside and the downside right now, because that's the prudent thing to do. And we had the upward moves with the Google and the TSM breakout, and now we've got a couple of our bearish positions that obviously had a really good day today. Hope you're doing well also. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care, everybody. If you like these recordings, I'd like to invite you to join our new Trade Finder Live, where each and every week we do a live webinar where we talk about the market, but we also go a little more in depth into the technical analysis system that we utilize to forecast where the market's likely going to go, and also to identify trading opportunities. Get your free subscription today. Take care, everybody.